Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Board of Selectmen meeting of 11 March. Today we take up a number of appointments. We're going to revisit several issues related to our fiscal year 15 operating and capital budget, as well as warrant articles for town meeting. And several other items that we've covered in the past, some updates regarding the center school reuse study, energy grant, town hall garage status, and some other items under old business. Are there any announcements before we begin? No one's here for community forum. Is there a motion to approve Board of Selectmen minutes of 25 February?
I abstain.
That's right. All right. Any discussion? Okay. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
I thought we were going to have someone here regarding an ambulance appointment.
Yeah.
Not here? All right, well, let's
No.
move right along. There is a request for abatement for the month of February, the amount of $1,495.10. Is there a motion to approve that abatement?
So, second.
Second, any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Transportation bond bill? Were you going to say something, or want me to say something?
You know, the letter was sent to Senator Rosenberg with Representative Cocott CC'd on that. You know, requesting that he support that, and but there's no other news.
Just to follow up, what we're talking about is the crossing of our water transmission line over Interstate 91, the issue of a $400,000 shortfall caused by the fact that we can't use the utility bay on the Chestnut Street Bridge. We have to go underneath Interstate 91. We've solicited help from both Representative Cocott. We met with him a week ago Friday here. In turn, we provided him a package on it and a letter for him to use as well. I met with Senator Rosenberg's staff, brought up the same issue and solicited their support as well. Get some funding support on this. You've probably seen in the newspaper, the House has passed and the Senate have passed versions of the transportation bond bill, and it now goes to conference, and I believe our item was in the House bill. Representative Cocott put it there. I don't believe it was in the Senate bill. It came to them a little late. So anyway, we're hoping to get that worked out in conference. As well, Representative Cocott had some other ideas about where some additional sources of funds that he's working on another bond bill, as well as an additional strategy. So anyway, we've got some things in work, trying to get that $400,000 covered down by other than taxation. Sure. Public safety building.
Well, Mark Gillette, the architect, I told him to come in around 9:30. So maybe we should just jump ahead and come back to this when he arrives.
Appointments, reappointments. We have this list. What? Are we saying, for example, let's start right at the top, Agricultural Advisory Committee, that Mr. Wagner and Mr. Powell have both indicated they wish to be reappointed, and there was no one else to be considered? Okay. And Mr. Pomeroy I asked that because I see some of these have requests for reappointment and some don't.
Right, clarify, well, when we sent out the letter, we said if we don't hear from you, that you don't want to be considered for reappointment, then we will assume that you do. But some people called and said they specifically wanted to be.
Well, I guess we could do these a page at a time. Animal Control Officer, Board of Registrar. Okay, on the school appointment to the Capital Improvement Planning Committee, all of those have indicated, well, I haven't heard from Fran Goodgen, but all have indicated their willingness to serve again and interest in serving again, but as indicated here, the school committee doesn't make appointments till after elections in June. So we'd have to hold up on the school committee appointment, and as well, we need to hold up on the finance committee appointment. They need to act themselves. So let's see. And we need to hold up on the assessor's appointment to the...
Talking for the capital planning on the finance
Yes.
committee, right? Okay.
Yeah. So on page 1, save for Mr. Moriarty, Mr. Goodgen, and the Elderly and Disabled Taxation Fund representative from the Board of Assessors. Is there a motion to approve the other
So moved.
appointments? Okay.
Second.
Any discussion? All right. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
On this next page. Okay, same thing with the Board of Health.
Why don't you do Council on Aging, Jane, separately? Because I'm going to abstain from voting on that.
Oh, okay. Motion to reappoint Ms. Betzold as COA Representative, Emergency Management Planning Committee.
So moved.
I'll second. All in favor? Aye.
I'm abstaining from that conflict of interest.
Again, the Energy Committee, we're waiting on that. We'll have some discussion on that. Okay, save for, on page 2, the Board of Health representative on the Emergency Planning Committee and the School Committee representative to the Energy Committee. Is there a motion to approve the, and
So moved.
and absent the one we just handled on COA's representative?
Right, that one's already been
Is
voted.
there a motion to approve the remainder?
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Again, we need to wait for the planning board recommendation. There must be a planning board member. One of them has to be a representative from planning board. Okay, is there a motion to approve, save for that first, save for the primary representative, Pioneer Valley Planning Commission?
So moved.
Second.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Next page. Is there a motion to approve representatives on this page to the Emergency Management Committee, Local Cultural Council, and Zoning Board of Appeals?
So moved.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
So, Key, help me. These are the only ones that we're waiting on other boards to have a designated position on these various committees. Those are the only ones now that are open?
No, that's not true.
Okay.
There are still some other vacancies, and I believe those are listed on the website.
Okay, how
So
about,
zoning board of appeals, we have that opening there, and also on the local cultural council? Those two are open?
Well, you just voted this last.
no, this last page has those on there. Those two individuals, Lisa.
Okay, they're here, got them.
We do not have any applicants for the other vacancies.
Okay. So
I don't have a
how about
problem
for our
with
next
that.
meeting, just bring that list of what we're still. And next time, let's talk about the Energy Committee. And what we ought to do.
Okay.
Because I know now, one of the current members has indicated they do not wish to be reappointed. That individual wasn't even up this time
Right.
for reappointment.
So it's down to 2.
We've had a report that got no input from the Energy Committee that the town administrator finally took care of. We've got a grant request going in weeks. And
I thought they were sitting down with you, Paul, and going over that. Back in January, that was, or before that.
we'll talk about it
Talk about it.
next
Okay.
time, but
Right.
apparently that hasn't been happening, so.
A letter should go out to Lisa and Diane. Okay. stating
Well,
that
all
we're
these people
appointed.
should be notified. Okay, thank you. Smith Academy?
Yeah, I just wanted to give you a brief update on scheduling here. It's moving forward. We had a conference call at the school.
Just for people, excuse me, just for people listening, what we're talking about is the grant, Massachusetts School Building Authority grant to the town of Hatfield for a roof, exterior windows and exterior doors at Smith Academy, and ongoing process right now.
Yeah.
Paul's been our representative.
Yeah, we had a conference call at the school last week with the consultants, and the schedule is that the final bid documents will be completed first week of April, and the bids will be going out then. And then the bids will be due on May 6th, which will be a week before town meeting. So, I was anticipating here initially that the bids would be coming in, soon enough so that we would have a firm number to insert in the warrant for town meeting, but now the timing of that is not going to work, because we will need to have the warrant posted on May 6th. So we won't have a number to insert into the warrant. I mean, we'll have it before town meeting, but it won't be in the warrant, because once the bids come in, it's going to take several days for them to be reviewed and
It doesn't have to be in
select.
the warrant, Paul.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be, but just as a, so we'll just need to make sure that we try and get the word out as to what that figure is before town meeting, so that people don't walk in and oh geez, I didn't know anything about this. So that's the schedule, and it's pretty much moving along on track.
Okay. Town meeting schedule? Want to go over that?
Yeah, well, once again, I've been meeting with members of the Finance Committee. We're meeting again next Monday. We are going to need to schedule some joint Finance Committee, Selectmen meetings between now and May. Probably we'll need to schedule at least a couple of them, for the end of this month, April. Town meeting is the second Tuesday in May. The warrant needs to be posted a week ahead of time. So we're, we'll be talking about the budget and the warrant a little later on in the meeting here. So yeah, there's, a bunch of decisions that need to be made. We're currently looking at a budget that is over the levy limit, so we're going to have to, but we don't have all the numbers. The state aid figures are not anywhere near final yet. We're still operating with the governor's budget. We won't get the first budget out of the House for another month, which will be closer to the actual state aid figures in the end. Typically, that's the way it works. So,
Is the financial team meeting on Monday? Because if it's a meeting, what's Monday's meeting about?
the
Finance committee.
It's a subcommittee of the Finance Committee. Darrell Williams and Sean Berry and myself. So
Okay,
the three of us
what's
have
the
been.
subcommittee? Are you just plugging in numbers, or are you making decisions? Because if you're making decisions, it's not the subcommittee, it's the
Well,
finance committee that
it's
makes
a
the decision.
subcommittee. The subcommittee has no authority to make decisions.
So they shouldn't even,
They're
we shouldn't even be changing
They're doing a first cut.
Yeah.
They're
Basically
doing
doing
a
a
first
first
I
cut.
thought that was done quite a while ago,
No.
back in January, you guys went through the whole thing, no?
No. January is, way too early to be making any kind of.
Well, I noticed in the minutes that there were certain things that were brought up that you shouldn't be determining what people's budgets are if they submitted them, and that committee shouldn't be making a decision at all.
Town meeting will make
Okay.
decisions.
Yeah, town
No,
meeting
but what I'm
makes
saying is
decisions,
when it's
yeah.
submitted as a budget and it's presented, nobody touches that except the finance committee and the selectmen at the end, or when we're discussing it as a whole body.
Right.
The only thing that you guys need to do is, on the subcommittee, is plug in the numbers that you get.
No, that's not what we asked them to do at all.
But that's the way it works, Jeff. That's
No.
open meeting laws.
No, what they're doing is just some preliminary work.
Well, they're
And
playing
they
around
frame-
with the budget items on each
Yeah.
individual's department, and that's not their job. Okay, the job is that of the finance committee and the board of selectmen.
Actually, it is their job to frame something up, and they'll frame up issues. Here's
They can
what's
frame up
come
issues,
in.
but not change the budget, that's all I'm saying.
Well, at the end of the day, we decide what goes. We understand that.
Okay.
They're just trying to frame up
I'd like a
what
copy
might
of-
be feasible.
Yeah, I'd like a copy of the budget.
It's in your package.
Okay. I
Actually,
didn't see it in here.
Yeah.
Actually, no, it's still in my office.
mine.
Well,
Well, I think I've got the current one.
you've got it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I didn't get it in my
Oh,
package.
I'm sorry. It's in there.
No, all we are doing is,
Well, I know the way the operation,
well, I think what
They're doing staff work.
What was
That's
attempting
what
to
they're
do
doing.
here is just cut down on the number of joint meetings that we've been going through, because it's difficult getting everybody together. And I'm the representative for the Board of Selectmen. We have two representatives of the Finance Committee. It's pretty easy for us to schedule meetings, and we're just doing preliminary work. It will be up to the full committees in the end to make the final decisions.
the end is too late, Paul, okay? As you go, if you guys are making decisions
We're
in
not,
various
Ed, we're
departments.
not making decisions.
Okay,
They're framing issues.
well, that's why I want a copy, because I want to see the numbers.
Yeah, They're identifying
That's what I'm-
identifying
We
and
have no
framing up issues.
authority to make decisions.
All right,
I understand that.
I just want a copy of the thing, that's all.
Anyways, that's where we're at.
Okay, but I think we've passed what we should announce, the date that we accept any more warrant articles. We published a schedule in August. Do we have that with us?
I don't have a copy.
Okay, well, should be your Bible. But anyway, we published a date in there, for example, no more warrant articles to be accepted, so we need to make that public again, and so there's no misunderstandings. And there's some other things in there. All right, well, we can't do it right now, I guess. Center School?
Yeah, nothing really to report on that, other than we will be having a joint meeting at our next scheduled Selectmen's meeting on the 25th with the advisory committee and the consultants. That'll be at 9 o'clock. And this coming Thursday, we are having a meeting of the advisory committee. Ahead of that, because we were presented with quite a bit of material at our last meeting. You know, a very preliminary report. But so that whole meeting was basically, you know, devoted to listening to the consultants and, you know, asking questions of them. But we didn't have really an opportunity to digest it all and discuss it, you know, some of the recommendations, conclusions among ourselves, so that's what this next meeting will be about.
What's the desired outcome of the meeting, the joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen?
You know, it's really the consultants who requested this. You know,
What are they looking for from the Board of Selectmen?
Their feedback. They're looking for feedback, in a nutshell.
Remember, one of the things we said at the beginning, we don't want to give folks the answer. We want professionals to come in and give us their best recommendation given on what the facts are.
Yeah, and you know, they've pretty much looked at all the options,
Okay.
Ruled out some things that are clearly not viable, not going to work. One of them being, you know, office space for, you know, two main reasons. There's really no market here in this part of town for offices. You know, we've got you know, empty office space right next door. So there's really no market in this part of town for that. Number two, because of the you know, the way the building is structured, those interior walls are structural walls, so, you know, it doesn't lend itself to being used for office space because it's too confined the way it is. So that's one of the things that, you know, they pretty much ruled that out. It looks like, you know, some sort of housing it would be the most viable option economically. They've talked to some developers who, you know, had different slants on it, but you know, would take an interest in the building. But there's other things that, you know, it's one thing to, you know, make a recommendation, and then it's another thing to make a recommendation that, you know, the community clearly does not want. So that's what they're looking for.
What do you mean the committee doesn't, who doesn't want?
The community at large.
Okay.
So actually, if we came to closure on the 25th with some clear way ahead, we could take to town meeting on the warrant an article that would deal with it if needed. I mean, we have presently standing guidance not to sell it, if that would change. The only guidance we have is, and not to use it for municipal purposes. So that leaves rent or demolishment.
Demolishment, schools.
And we tried the
housing.
renting, and that we only had one responsive answer to our request.
In other
So-
words, 50,000, we're no further along than when we were 2 years ago. Bottom line.
Well, maybe revisiting whether we sell or not, that's probably what's going to be the,
Well, I think, you know,
for the, if it's housing.
it was, we'll have some solid data to
Okay.
present to the community for them to make an educated decision.
Ask them to look in the leasehold property, Paul, please.
They are.
Okay. All right, well, is this the read ahead for the 25th?
Yes.
Okay. All right. DPW?
I did share with the chairman the correspondence from Comprehensive Environmental in regards to the River Dike project, the expanded scope. It seems like MEMA cannot commit to the 75% reimbursement at this time. So they're asking for some sort of decision by this board whether we go ahead or if we don't.
They can't give us 75%, my suggestion is don't take it.
I thought they already approved all that.
Well, that's why I asked for a yes and no. We finally got it in writing, well, no.
It's no.
Here's, what we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen, is stabilization of a portion of the dike adjacent to the section we just did some work on this past summer and fall at the end of Bridge Lane. And there, we saw an opportunity to extend the area being restored. And initially, how can I say it, got the indication that there were dollars, grant dollars still available that we would compete very favorably for. And we still had some funds left from the original appropriation on the dike restoration that could cover down our cost share, so it wouldn't mean any additional expense to the town and we get more of the dike done. But we've been pressing for, is it a yes, no on the grant? Do we have that 75% covered down where we just had to pay the 25% or not? And the answer came back, well, it looks favorable that you'll get the grant, for the 75% cost share, but we can't guarantee that. So here we are at budget time, and we need to go forward with something in our operating budget for town meeting or not.
That's
So-
the question.
So what's the amount that we would have to go forward with to cover down the other 75%?
I can't remember.
Was it 60? I thought it was 60.
Well, I mean, we need that number. That's, we,
Wasn't it 60?
I thought it was somewhere around 100,000 in that ballpark, but I'm not, the
Looking
exact
at-
figure, I'm not.
yeah.
Looking at the project, they pulled out, the job's finished with what they've done. It's a whole new, to me, it's a whole new project, and that should be really thought about before we go and stick any more money into that part and really take a hard look at what's actually happening over there
Well,
before we spend any more money on it.
originally, that was pretty much going to be paid for the complete project
Right.
for itself.
Well, I
mean,
think
we
that,
weren't,
I think that the chairman, said correctly that the money in the existing mitigation grants is there, is available, but they cannot commit the 75% to us at this time.
Right, so if they come back and they say they're only gonna give us 35%, then we won't have enough in the account.
Actually, it's a yes or no. We get the 75% or we don't get anything. It's a zero-sum game.
And the reason that we pursued this was because that there was money left in the existing mitigation grant that the town received to pay its cost share into this.
Well, we're,
But, you know.
well.
If we don't get
we're
the
getting-
75,000,
yeah.
it's a dead issue. That's my take on it.
Well, I guess my question is, if we say we're going to go forward with it, bring it to town meeting, if it's approved and we don't get the money, we just don't do the job? Or, you know, I'm not sure how that would work. In other words, if we bring it on town floor and it's accepted on the condition that we do get the 75%, we go forward with it, and if we don't get the 75%, we just drop it.
How much money is left in that account? 60,000?
Paul, you know, don't you?
Oh, well, I don't have that figure at the, but you know, we did the calculations, you know, a while back. It's not that we have money in that account per se, but the authorization to borrow, you know, would have allowed the treasurer to, you know, borrow an additional sum which would have covered our 25%.
All right, and that's another point. The town, we don't have the money, it's not like we have cash in that account. We have to go out and borrow it, which means once we borrow it, it gets added to our taxes. That's exactly what happens here. So it pushes your tax rate up, because we were authorized to borrow a couple of years ago at town meeting. If we don't use that, then it just reverts back, and the taxes will be at a minimum of what we use just for the initial project.
Well, look, how about we just add that to our issue list, and we'll deal with it as part of the decisions on the operating budget. But meanwhile, find out
We'll find out the
what
cost.
the total
expanded
cost
scope is,
estimate
yeah.
would be for that extended project.
I just hate to,
Yeah,
I hate to drop it because it took us, well, over
2006.
5 years to get where we were, and if there is money available, I mean, it is still eroding
Yeah.
further north, so.
I don't
You know, I
understand why
mean,
they didn't take care of the whole thing when they were doing it.
And the whole good thing about it is that you're not competing with others as far as this grant proposal to expand that scope of work, because it's with the original grant proposals.
Oh, well, okay.
That money, that projects were funded that didn't use all the money, and it's going back into a pool of money for others to tap into that have been approved.
Well, find out, one, what the total cost estimate is, and then two, when is it that they have to have a firm commitment from us, one way or another? Given our town meeting's not till middle of May. Okay. What else do you have?
That's it.
Well, we got a response to our request to the Architectural Access Board for a further time variance on the rails, handrails here at Town Hall. And they've come back belatedly to grant us a time variance until 1 June to be compliant with the wall-mounted handrails. So, you're,
The project,
That's out here.
yes.
and we have met with our contractor yesterday and discussed the scope of work, and feels that it can be completed by that time, the June 1st.
At what
deadline.
cost? What's the cost?
He's going to give me a cost.
Okay. All right, so you're
I'm on it.
on it? I mean, it's supposed to be done, inspected, photographed, reported back, all the usual.
Question, if we barricade it,
Yeah,
if we barricade it,
if we,
does that extend their, in other words, because basically now with this room, there's really nothing going on upstairs.
we have in our original variance an authorization to use the upstairs when
case, yeah.
all this is booked. As if we had to have a meeting here and there was no space here on this accessible floor, we have permission to use that other floor.
Plus it includes the
But
basement.
but you could shut off the entire building,
Well,
or
that's
shut off the entire floor and
Second
then.
floor.
But
But this is not all that expensive and,
no, but the variance does include the going down the basement stairs as well. So it's
Yeah.
not just going up the upper stairs, it's going to the lower level. That's off by an inch.
all right, well, you're gonna work this?
Yes.
All right. It said something about DPW account charges. That's the topic listed.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes. This has been ongoing. I don't have it in front of me. Back in September, there were some charges to the DPW account at RK Miles where somebody that was involved with the recreation project at the playground and the basketball court was charging supplies into the DPW account without our knowledge. So as time went on and the invoices weren't paid, Joe Miles from RK Miles had given me a phone call stating that there was some past due invoices of 90 days. So I had him email me all the invoices, and they were all charges from the DARE project, the DARE program project over there. It amounted to like $400 or $500 in invoices for various supplies, but my concern was that somebody was over there charging on our account, signing their name to our account. To date, the invoices have not been paid, so they're over 120 days late.
So which account did it come from? The Recreation Department?
The Recreation
Why
Department.
doesn't it come right out of the Recreation Department's fund?
I have no idea. Obviously, they don't have an account set up at RK Miles.
Well,
that's the only thing I can think of. I don't
do
know.
we have one-
Plus, there's another charge into the water department for the same thing.
Do we have one account set up over there, or do we have multiple accounts?
Multiple accounts. Water, wastewater,
Maybe they didn't know that.
town hall, highway.
Okay, well, have you sat down with
I've sent
Chair of the
them,
Recreation Committee and?
had phone calls to them. We've put the invoices in their boxes, and they're still not paid.
Okay,
They're still not paid.
they should be put in. They should automatically, if you know that it's theirs, it should, Mike should be making the transfer automatically out of their account into there, and then we'll deal with it later. Get the bill paid. It's not fair for them to sit there and wait for it because
Correct.
we've got a problem inside here. So have Mike take and just pay the bills, and then we'll deal with it which account it comes out of. Okay, take it out of the rec department's funds for the time being, and then we'll hash it out. Don't let the vendor wait. That's foolish.
Well, it seems very strange. I'm sure it was innocent, but,
If they needed an
And like
account.
I've told,
or they may have paid it, I don't know. I don't know.
well, I've told them, I mean, if they don't have an account set up at RK Miles, I don't have a problem with them charging onto our account as long as the bill's paid.
Yeah.
And I'm
that's-
notified that they're using our account.
That's reasonable.
That's what I've told them. I'm willing to cooperate that
But
far.
I wouldn't wait
But for
for an
them not
email.
to inform us that they're charging on our account and signing under someone else's name, because when you get the invoice from RK Miles, there's a name on there. So they're obviously saying somebody's name that isn't that somebody.
Is it legible?
Is-
Yeah. It's printed.
All right, well then, I would be calling them in there, but I'd get the bill paid first. Get the bill paid, don't let the vendor wait. Get it in on a warrant, we'll do a special warrant and get it out for Joe.
Well, we have to wait for our accountant to come in.
Okay.
All right.
It should be there.
Yeah, but you can start the process, no? Get the warrant, we'll do a special warrant, we'll sign it.
Which item was Mark on? Which item?
Public safety building.
Mark? Good morning.
Morning, Mark.
You're here on public safety building,
Yes,
or town hall garage, or?
right, yes.
Question for you, Mark. Are you here for executive session in regards to that, or are we just going to give an update on what's
That was
going
my
on?
understanding, is that I would be here.
That's what I thought, was here for an executive session because of the situation out back. If you want to give an update on the
Oh, is this
thing without
a
going into...
legal issue?
Without, yeah, there's a legal issue out there.
Okay, we,
Okay, so if you want to just give us an update on what's going on, and then stop at before we get into legal issues. Okay.
The last official visit to the site, to the building, was last Thursday. And I was there with the engineer from Lindgren and Sharples, who does the HVAC and electrical and mechanical and plumbing. And we walked through the project and went over our list of items that are remaining to be complete for the project to be substantially complete. There are still a number of items remaining on the project before it can be substantially complete. I mean, I can go over that list now with you if you like, or we can go over it sometime in the future, but the summary would be that it's still not substantially complete after a month. I think we're a good month past the date where we last agreed with the contractor that he would be finished, which was January the 30th. So that's kind of where it stands. I've sent a weekly update to the contractor, because every Thursday morning I've been on the site to check on progress this past month especially. And so I've done updated lists of those items and sent it to the contractor. This past month, progress has been very slow on that list specifically. Some of the items, there's no glass installed, finished glass installed in some of the exterior doors. In all the exterior doors, all the interior glass is, a lot of that is unfinished at this point. There's no heat in the police department area. There's missing grab bars. There's a missing hatchway to the mechanical room in the fire department. There are other items on my list I would check, but
get the drift.
needless to say, it's not complete.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right, well-
I'd just like to add a comment. Mark and I have been talking about this situation, and I told Mark that I was going to call the president of Evergreen Construction. So I did that last week, and I finally heard back from him yesterday. We had a brief conversation. My question to him was, basically, when will you be finishing up? And there's a real disconnect here. Because, and I already told Mark this, what he told me was, well, I need to contact the subcontractors and, make sure they're finished, but I think they are. And then the only thing I think we need to do is put the glass in the vestibule for the police department, and then I think we're done. So that's his, that's his takeaway on this. And, as you hear from Mark, there's still quite a bit of work that still needs to be done.
Okay. All right, we'll come back, handle legal strategy with you, just finish up some other business here. Draft 15 budget.
Copies for us, Paul?
Yep. I think Jeff has.
I got one.
This for you and Jan. So this is still very much a work in progress, but if you will go to the summary page, most of these figures here are pretty accurate at this point. But as you will go to the bottom, currently it looks like we are about $106,000 over the levy limit. So there's...
Okay, and that's not with this dike issue.
Correct. Correct. So, you know, if we go to the actual, you know, budget page, and if you, you know, I just want to, you know, focus in on a few items here. Right in the middle of the budget page where there's a shaded column that says change FY14 to FY15.
We're in the middle, we talk.
Right here.
Okay, got it.
I'm just going to run through some of the big changes here. You know, the first one is the accountant. I'm proposing to increase that budget substantially. We're talking with the Hampshire Council of Governments to get some additional staff in here. After the last management letter, there's, you know, some significant problems in that office, and I think it's mostly a matter of manpower. So, you know, we're looking at bumping that up quite a bit. And then as you go down the column, I'm just going to, you know, point out some of the big, you know, proposed changes here. As you go down that column, public buildings maintenance is up, you know, almost $15,000. And
Well, how about
some of
auditor?
that is due to some of the additional work we need to do in the town hall, but it's also, you know, we're budgeting for additional utility costs for this building and for the public maintenance or the public safety building. So we don't know what those costs are going to be yet, but we know those costs are going to go up.
How about the 10,000 on auditor of town records?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, that's actually...
That's 10,000 bucks.
That's $10,000. With our previous auditor, they were doing the audit for $12,000. We were getting a fantastic deal with that arrangement. With our new auditor, we will be paying more like market rate, which is going to be another, you know, actually, I just talked to them yesterday, and actually that figure is going to be $20,000. But yeah, it's another additional $8,000. If we go to the next page, the DPW is looking to bring the tree account up to somewhere near where it once was. That's another additional $10,000. School budget is up another $103,000.
On the EMS training, how come that's down at 3,600? That's delete.
Well, actually, what we were talking about on that is what was going on there is that within the ambulance department there was money set aside for training, which was never being used.
Remember we put...
We put in $10,000 into that
They
account.
came in and said they had X number of folks in queue they thought would run through the training, and apparently didn't materialize.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
from what I understand is that Greg was using his money from his budget, not this account, okay, on some of the training. And we're way behind on people. I mean, we're down, I don't know how many, quite a few EMTs, and there's no reason to deduct this. This should stay 10 grand, if that, just to get people in there. Otherwise, we close the ambulance service. You're not going to run the ambulance service with 4 people. That's ridiculous, all right? So you start screwing around with the budget and deducting, taking money away from the training, you might as well
Well,
close
this
the
was,
ambulance.
you know,
That's what's happening.
this was at the suggestion of the ambulance manager that money was not necessary.
But the Board of Selectmen, we recognized that last year. We put in $10,000 for additional training to get more EMTs in this town, and that didn't happen. So we need to know what's going on, why it's not happening, and why we're not moving forward to getting a bigger workforce here.
Well, just leave that as an open issue about the
Yeah.
ambulance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clearly, yeah, we
I
We've
don't
come
want to
on
see that
board
go by the
supporting it,
wayside
but-
here.
they need to be able to recruit folks.
Yeah. You take it out and we're not going to have an ambulance service, that's it.
Okay, so we left off on the school budget. That's up another $103,000. The highway department is up 8,900. Vehicle lease is up 38,000. That's with the new lease that was voted in the last town meeting. Moving on to the last page, we've got some, this is where a lot of the pain is being inflicted. Landfill capping, the principal is going up $25,000 there. This year will be the last year for that payment. So this will be the last one, and I guess the way it was structured, it was kind of like a balloon payment at the end. So, but that's another $25,000. We're also looking at, we've got the town hall renovations project. That's $20,000 in the principal that we didn't have before. We're looking at a $21,000 increase in the county retirement, a $19,000 increase in group health insurance. And then on the last page, we're looking at the third RBC, the rotating biological contactor. That's an additional $23,000. And then, of course, the water transmission line
Wait a
down
minute,
at
back up a second, Paul. I thought we did that last year. That's already in the works, that third one. Bill, what's going on with that?
The money was approved and the project will be this spring.
So why are we putting it in the new budget?
well, that money's already been
Borrowing.
borrowed.
Okay, that's borrowed.
Yep.
Yeah, but wasn't that an article that was put in to appropriate the money?
Yes.
Yeah, it was an authorization to borrow,
Okay, okay,
and the treasurer has already borrowed that money.
okay. And that's where that's,
Yep.
okay, got it.
And then down the bottom of that page, water transmission line, principal $100,000, and the interest is another $7,800. So, though that's where all the major increases are occurring.
Well, okay, help me on the water transmission line now. We've got 2.4 authorized, 2.4 million.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got it down to, under the current contract, down to Route 5 and 10.
Correct.
Okay, so this, how does this cover, say we didn't get the additional $400,000. Are we borrowing enough here to?
Oh, to
To
get
get
us
us
to Brockway,
even
to
to
get us to
Brockway
Brockway
Smith?
Smith?
Well,
At our meeting? that
I guess it doesn't,
yeah,
wouldn't kick in, if he borrowed it in 15, it wouldn't kick in until 16,
That's right.
the payments. Okay.
Right.
Because right now, the original, the first phase contract is 1.4 and change.
Yeah,
That he had to borrow, that he said he borrowed,
That's to get us to where?
down to
down to 5.
Route 5 and 10. Down Reservoir Road, Rocks Road, segment of,
Could we get
I just want to make sure we got,
I guess my question is, can we get a cost, can we get an estimate on what it would be from where we're ending on
Yeah, I
Route
think-
5 to Brockway?
yeah, we got that. We're okay. We're within our,
Okay,
clearly
we're within
within
that.
our,
Okay, the budget?
actually, we will have more, but we don't
I'm
have
just
enough to
wondering,
get
can-
up to.
Can we get to the bridge? Can we get to the bridge and go across the river and then stop?
No.
We don't have
Right
enough
to
of that.
Brockway.
Unless we get that 400,000 or whatever from,
Okay, so
The
we'd have
bond.
to
The
stop at
logical
Brockway,
point is that-
right at the driveway roughly or something.
Yeah.
Is it Brock-
Yeah, and our, Michael, the consultant on this, said he's very comfortable with that figure getting us to Brockway Smith.
Okay.
He said,
Yeah,
he said
I'd like
that
to
on
s-
numerous occasions.
I'd like to see them get us to at least Bill Hurley's house, just a little, that way we're past all the houses, the lawn can be put back, and we just got to take care of stuff in the swamp. So if there's a little bit extra, I think it should get that little push and get that past the houses there. That way,
Actually, they could go, back. They'll have enough to go
yeah, okay.
past that.
Not into the swamp, but just up to
But that's
that.
illogical, but that'll,
That's about another 200, 300 feet.
well, there's a reason why it's at Brockway Smith, and that's a connection that's made there.
Right.
So I don't know how going another few hundred feet past the houses
Really buys us anything.
would, I know
Yeah.
what Ed's saying, why, just get it through all that, but through those homes. But I'm not sure, system-wise, how that,
Tony's
would
here,
work.
you can ask Tony.
The biggest goal with this water main was to get up to the Plain Road area.
yeah,
Right now, we're stuck
understand.
the
Route
west side
98.
of Route 5 until we come up with
Right.
extra money. That will allow us to come underneath 91,
Right.
according to Mass DOT, for what they want. We'll keep going past Brockway Smith, up and over the river, and we'll end at Plain Road. That way, anything that's out in that swamp and in the river will be abandoned.
Right, now, we're talking about, say, we didn't get the 400,000, so we're not going to be up to, over the
We-
river and up to there. We're back, the
Well,
way it was
looking-
briefed would be a logical point to stop it would be at Brockway.
Yes, it would bring us probably right past Brockway, and that would be the end of it.
Could we get
We
past
wouldn't be
those
able to
houses?
afford the bridge to go over.
Could we get past the houses by Bill Hurley's house, that way we're past the houses?
Yeah, we would be able to get past those, but we
Stop.
will run into another problem, because you have such a large diameter
Yeah.
pipe with only a couple of houses using water, that we won't have very great water quality there. We may end up with problems in the future.
You
Because
just
it's-
have to flush it more, right?
Yes. It would be an ongoing project.
I mean, even if we stopped it at Brockway Smith, Brockway, how much water they only use it for?
They're actually not using a lot anymore.
So the whole line was gonna have to be flushed anyway, and my thinking here is if something happened with that line in the brook, at least you could run temporary lines over the bridge and get it connected up on Gore Avenue somehow.
Yeah, in theory, yes, we could. It would help.
Yeah,
Because just past the bridge before Plain Road, we do have one shut off, not on the extremely old line, but on the newer one,
okay.
that we'd be
That's
able
what,
to.
that's what my thinking was, to get it closer. So if we can get it closer, and most you guys would have to do is to keep flushing it on a
Correct.
whatever basis, monthly basis, or weekly basis, whatever the case may be.
Okay, well, we're not going to engineer it on the fly here.
No, no, but I mean, if we got the extra money, it might,
Yeah.
Coming over to Mill River is the other big expense.
Yeah.
I mean, we got the 91 crossing and the
Yeah.
Mill River, and that's the biggest expense.
it's just that all the work, get it past the houses, and that way that people can get back to their lives, and what's going on there. Because it's such a pain when, you know, they're digging it up and then they gotta dig it up again, and it's like, just to get through it.
When are we going to meet with the Finance Committee? We really should be setting some dates here so folks
Yes.
can plan.
Well, as I mentioned, I'm meeting with the subcommittee on Monday, and
Right.
we'll discuss that then.
Okay, well, how about, we'd just like to lock down some dates
Yeah.
right after that. Okay. Anything else on?
That's pretty much it. Summary on the budget. I'd like to move on to the warrant. I think that we need to make some decisions on some things here. So the first page is all, boilerplate. As Article 4 regards the transportation bond bill. Article 5 is the article regarding the Smith roof and window project. Article 6, I'm waiting to hear back from the accountant. I'm not sure if we'll need that article because we had just done this last year. So there may not be enough money in unissued balances to bother with at this stage of the game. Article 7 is the net metering article that we wanted to put on last year, but somehow it got forgotten about. Article 8, and the next few articles are...
Just a cleanup of
Yeah.
replacing Industrial Commission with Hatfield Redevelopment Authority and adding DPW.
Yeah.
Review of planning
Well,
board
this
documents.
doesn't make sense here on Article 8, okay, to see if the town will vote to Industrial Commission.
He's just making a placeholder.
I'm just making a placeholder,
Okay,
because
okay,
they actually
okay.
haven't actually acted on it yet.
There's a bylaw that says who the planning board sends out documents to, and they're sending them out to non-existent boards.
So this is
Right.
just a placeholder warrant?
That's all that
That's all
is.
this is, okay.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah. The next articles are all planning board articles, which they have taken action
Number
on.
9 is, do we have, is it, I think it might be in the back here, for mixed use. This is what we were talking about, put apartments overhead,
No, oh, mixed uses, yes.
mixed
This,
use.
this number, oh,
Nine.
okay, the first one was, isn't that map 223, is that out on Route 5 and 10?
Yeah, actually, they are planning on having an overhead, showing a map where this is, they're proposing for it to take effect. They didn't have that last time around, and there was a
Right.
lot of confusion about what this was all about. So anyways, those are all planning board, and then moving on to,
The mixed use, yeah, that's exactly what
use.
you were talking about, Ed.
yeah.
Okay.
And
Chris
then
Curtis.
then we have the proposed medical marijuana bylaw.
It's going to be
which-
down by Ed's, isn't it?
Yeah, and that has been completed. I haven't inserted it into the warrant, but I attached it at the back.
Where do
Those are two things that came, number 11, 11 and 11.
Yeah,
Those are in the audit report. You recall that the auditor recommended a number of things to
Yeah, but I didn't see...
reduce the amount of unnecessary work being done by the accountant, which really costs more to do than the money
Right,
that was
The $10 or
brought in.
$15 items, but when
Yeah.
you're talking about farm equipment machinery, you're talking some of the tractors going $100,000, $200,000. That's not cheap on taxation. So when you're excluding farm machinery, that's a whole nother situation.
yeah,
okay?
well, no, that did not come from the audit report. That came out of the tax collector's office. There are maybe 6 households in town
But
that this would pertain to.
I mean, right now, we're giving them a break on the water, we're giving them a break on 61 chapter lands, and to exclude the machinery, that's a lot of taxation that everybody else is going to have to pick up. So I have a question on that.
But farmers, if you're making so much money, like, it's more for the big farmers, they don't claim that. They don't claim.
They're a corporation.
But they don't claim their farm equipment, I don't think.
Yeah, according to the tax collector, you know, this is,
It's
it's
for-
just,
more for
it's
the
just like,
small-
it's just like the personal property. Basically, it's not enough to worth bothering with. It's more
I
work.
would like
It's
a-
more work than it's worth.
I'd like a
That's-
dollar figure from the assessors to figure out how much we're actually
Yeah.
taking out of here.
Yeah,
Okay. Article 12, that's the one with, our town clerk has come in and asked us to accept.
I'd like to drop
12
that
and
to 60
13.
years.
yeah. So, yeah, the next couple of articles here are basically updating our dog licensing. And the listed Article 12, you know, is a waiver for seniors on dog license fees. And we move down to Article 14, expedited permitting, which,
It was on last
Yeah, it was
year.
on
Remember,
last
Bob was, well, someone was supposed to speak to it, and there was some confusion.
yeah, so it's back. Article 15, see if the town will vote to appropriate X amount of dollars for the 350th
Okay.
Hatfield
I need
anniversary.
somebody to check to find out.
$4,800.
There's 4,800?
Yes.
Louise said, I thought she said 18,000, but there's
Oh.
4,800?
4,800 approximately.
Someone must have been dipping into the till there.
So is this something the board wants to,
Well, let's see, 1670. So we got
3,500 bucks?
2020,
2020,
6 years.
6 years. I mean, you could, it takes a few years. It's probably a good 3 years of planning, and
Oh, absolutely, if not 4 or 5, absolutely,
it,
yeah. But
I think the purpose of getting this on was just to create the awareness and start something, create a,
instead of putting it in as an article, well, you're probably better off to leave it as an article. I mean, you could start off with $1,000 and then add to it.
anything.
That'd give you 40,
Because we don't,
58.
oh,
We should about have 10 grand to start. That's why I thought we were comfortable at 18,
so we had, what, 52?
5,200.
Oh, we'll have 10 grand.
And that would be up to the committee on how they, at least to give them something to go with. I mean, they've got something to start with if it doesn't materialize at this
Right.
one here.
Any problem? We just, I'm sure we'll have something.
Keep the
Someone-
placeholder, that's all.
Okay, all right, yeah. Okay, Article 17, see if the town will vote to create a town hall renovation stabilization fund. Article 18, to see if the town will vote to transfer from free cash a sum of money to the town hall renovation stabilization fund. So we just got free cash certified as of last Friday, and it came in at approximately, you know, $189,000 and change. So we've been talking.
It's approved?
Yes.
It's certified, yeah. So we've been talking about using all of that or some of that free cash to put in that stabilization fund, so.
We've got some money from CPA toward ADA improvements that's still available for this Phase 2 of the town hall. And then we thought if we put some of the free cash, some or all of that, and we
But
had.
Paul's saying all of it. I mean, you're looking at over $100,000 in the budget, you're over the levy limit. I think you're going to be using that free cash before you decide what goes into the stabilization.
Well, each year we have to turn in a report to the state as to how we're making progress against our deadline
Because
of
I thought-
August of 18 to complete the Phase 2 of the town hall project.
I thought-
So we're just trying to do it incrementally and throw some money against this
Well, we're gonna have
one
money,
account.
we're gonna have monies left over from this project.
Yes.
And the project there.
Well, that's what I thought. The other project was going to take care of some furnishings in here, and then the rest would go into the stabilization fund, whatever came from the project out back.
Mm-hmm. And that's the next article.
So those are just placeholders, you can leave them in.
Yeah, so, yeah. So, yeah, the next article is transferring money from the town hall garage to the town hall stabilization fund. And I think we're looking at, around $40,000 will be left after all is said and done. The next article creates the OPEB trust fund, which we also talked about.
Back up for a second.
Mhm.
18 and in the article, there's nothing in here that transfers it to the town hall account here for furnishings. I don't see
Oh,
it.
oh, no, no,
Well, that,
no.
that,
This
we
is-
don't
this
need-
is the
we don't
state-
need that.
Well, how are you going to get, you can't use the money from out back to do furnishings in this town hall.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
There's no article for that.
No,
You need, if you wanted to take $10,000 out of that money that's left out back, you can't, there's no article that does it right
Yeah,
now.
yeah, these are all toward the
Right, so
renovation
you
stabilization.
need another article in here that gives you the authority or gives permission to take X amount of dollars from the building fund out back and put it towards town hall equipment fund, or whatever you want to call it. okay?
Furnishings.
Furnishings.
Oh, you're right.
Okay.
okay. Next article creates the
The
OPEB trust fund.
OPEB, we're not putting any money against it right now. Remember, that was another thing in the audit, saying you'll get points on
Yeah.
your bond rating if you even indicate you've thought about it and created it.
Well, we're up to
The fund.
a triple A bond rating, so you can't, I don't think you can go much higher than that. And we're doing well on that part.
Okay, the next article, this has been on for several years now, $10,000.
This is the ongoing water meter
Yes,
replacement.
to install water meters.
Okay, since Tony's here, or Phil, either one of you address, how many meters do we have left to do?
200 or something?
We've been upgrading 200 a year so far, and this will be the third year,
I
so.
mean, doesn't it ever
We're
stop?
we're about halfway,
We got 1,300 accounts,
yes.
200 a year, so we got 246 done. We got 700 to go.
700 to go. And this is all updating to the new technology and everything?
Yes, it's,
So to take into consideration the new technology that you can actually read it off a beacon on the mountain, and we don't have to have you guys going around and check that?
it's not necessary at this point, because even with the technology we have, once the system's complete, before 9 o'clock in the morning, you could be done reading.
Okay.
Just, it's a matter, right here from Town Hall with the gun in my hand, I can read all the way past Swazi Potato Farm, right from here. So to put extra technology out there that's only used a couple times now.
Question on we're taking 10,000 from water, 10,000 from sewer. What's the sewer? How's the funding in that?
Not good.
That's what I'm saying, that's what I'm bringing up.
Retained earnings are under $10,000, aren't they?
Basically, we're
Yeah, it was
basically
like
paying
96.
for it.
No, you're absolutely, there's a budget issue about our rates. We either increase the rates and look at expanding the system.
That's
Put
the
more
big
people
thing,
on it.
expanding the system, getting more people on. I think we need that
Absolutely.
look at where we can actually expand in a town to get the most for our money, most
Well,
income.
we have on the capital plan, that slug identified for that purpose. It just looked a little heavy this year in terms of getting to that study and closing on it. But the Finance Committee's also interested in maybe moving that back, but there's some $50,000, as I recall.
Well, there's a couple of things. One is to get the income, but the other one is, are we up to snuff on what our expenses are on that?
No, you're absolutely, like on the water system, get a master plan of the maintenance and expansion. That's what this study would be.
Because I know on a daily basis, we go out and check each one of the pump stations, 7 days a week, and we're paying a heck of a lot of overtime. Is there any way that that can be automated, so we don't have to go out and check, it's automatically done by computer? Okay?
No, not according to DEP, you have to physically check each plant.
Physically check each one every day, so it costs us X amount of dollars in overtime, or you're setting up regular
time,
hours,
yep.
7 days a week?
Correct.
That's comp time now, right?
Yeah.
So it's not really overtime, it's just,
Time
I mean,
off during the week.
yeah.
All right.
But, a budget issue when we meet with the Finance Committee and talk are things like, do we move that study back regarding sewer? Another related operating budget issue is what are our rates? What are our rates now and what should they be? Because well, we've said this 100 times. When we created the enterprise fund, all we did was cost the operating costs, not the capital expenses. And there was a whole backlog of undone capital expenses on both sides.
We also put on a number of people on the highway department. I would like to see some kind of a cost analysis done did we make the right decision? Do we have enough people? Do we need more people? Do we need less people? Okay, how much is it costing us to run the program and versus what we have out there? Or can some of that be gone out for, put some of that stuff out for bid? Okay, I mean, we don't have a clue right now of what it's actually costing us each time they go out and cut brush, okay? How much time they're spending, how much money it costs. You do a cost analysis on those things, at least you know where you stand, and the stuff that's real heavy on expense, then you look to subcontract it out, and use them for something else. The guys should be doing like maintenance stuff and that kind of stuff, but that would be my look at the whole thing. I mean, instead of just keep pumping up the budget, and adding, I think we need to look at what the cost analysis is on all the departments, not just that. Highway, water, sewer, the whole bit.
Number 24.
Number 24, $50,000 out of taxation for sidewalk improvements. The Finance Subcommittee, will not support this. They said, if they want to take the money out of free cash or they want to take it out of Chapter 90, they don't have a problem with that, but they won't support it coming from taxation.
So that's an issue, open issue.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
but
we can't afford it, bottom line.
that shouldn't be in there. It should, my thing is, it should come out of Chapter 90, okay? It should be part of that. If we don't, I mean, some of the roads that you have in there for Chapter 90, could maybe wait a year.
Well, Chapter 90 is one use, but we don't have very much Chapter 90 money.
I don't know, my license just went up because of Chapter 90 isn't getting that well funded, but yet I have to pay for lines for bike paths down every road that I go on. And I think it's time that, why don't we do the same in this town? Do away with the sidewalks, dig them up, plant lawn, and run a line right down the edge of the road.
If
A
you
lot
did that and
cheaper.
somebody gets killed, then we're liable.
Well,
for
they're doing the same, they're doing it all over the state. They're doing it with bicycles. I mean, you go to Amherst, and they've got a lane that cuts right in front of traffic. Am I right? Right in front of traffic, so the bicyclists can take a right-hand turn.
Well, if you recall, that's why we did it on Elm Street. We made room for bicycles to be on. That's why we narrowed up the lines in the road.
I'm just saying,
Travel.
I mean, instead of spending all kinds of money, this is a alternative, I guess I could put it.
Well, you haven't spent anything on sidewalks in
I realize that.
We haven't
least
spent money on
8 or
the Main Street
10
sidewalk
years or more.
But
on that end
but
for
when I hear
probably
people
30 years.
in other parts of town complaining about their roads, and we're
I
putting
understand.
sidewalks in,
There is a program I keep bringing up, but doesn't get any traction. That's Safe Routes to Schools. There are dollars available.
Yeah, I actually looked into that, Jeff, and it's actually, the school would have to apply for that money.
The school has to initiate it.
Yeah, and they have to be eligible, whatever the eligibility criteria is. I'm not sure. I didn't look into that far. But yeah, it's a.
Okay, so it's school, not
School.
DPW?
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Well, there's a Safe Routes to School program. There's also and I don't mean to tem any of this right here, but in the Mass Works program, there's also a small town little carve out for road improvements, and I ought to be looking at that as well. Well, if, what's the sense on so we don't belabor this too much? You want to decide this today, or just add it to the list of issues that,
We can always table it, just leave it
all
there.
right, so it's an open issue as to whether we defer the whole thing. Remember, this was part of the 3-year, 50,000, 50,000, 50,000 sidewalk improvements. Just one phase.
But I think,
And the issue is not the need to do some of this, but the source of funds, whether it's CPA or
I mean, I would like to
Chapter
direct,
90, or not CPA, but Chapter 90, or,
Well, the only positive to that is in the bond bill is separate, is the increase in the Chapter 90 funding, which seems to be going to pass. So you should have extra funds in Chapter 90.
okay, well,
well, if there's extra funds, I would say put them towards the sidewalk, get that project done and out of the way.
all right, well, we'll carry it as an open issue for,
Okay.
it's an easy one to deal with.
Okay, the next article, $200,000 in borrowing to replace a section of the North Street sewer. Of course, this wouldn't affect the FY15 budget, but it would affect the FY16 budget. The next article,
Paul, anytime we have dollar figures like that, we should have what it's going to cost us on town meeting, what the people are going to have to pay, increase in taxes.
yeah, yeah,
We should have that figure.
yeah.
Okay.
And then,
Remember, this was one of the projects that the Board of Selectmen voted to endorse to town meeting.
Because we've been having so many problems
Yeah.
on North Street. And,
And remember, we're doing a section of North Street, not really the whole,
right,
okay?
right.
okay, the next article, $400,000 to construct a new water transmission line under Interstate 91.
This is, I think I asked Paul, just stick it on there. But there's a strategy here at issue. And we've got Representative Cocott and Senator Rosenberg both trying to help through the transportation bond issue, bond legislation, through the water infrastructure bond legislation, and other ways.
Well, the the Finance Subcommittee basically said on this one that, they won't support this. They think it should be, if we get state funding, great. Otherwise, it should be just.
Stick it in phase 2?
Stick it in
Well,
phase 2.
That's our other option.
Yeah. You keep pushing this up and you keep pushing these articles on here, you're up to probably 750, almost $1 million. $1 million on the tax rate, that's a whole other ballgame. People are just not going to be going for this, and they need to know where all this is going. Okay, if all these are passed, it's going to cost you X amount of dollars on your taxes, another $700 a year or whatever it's going to be. It's going to make a difference here.
This $400 that we're asking for through the bond bill too, Mr. Cocott said that we probably wouldn't know until the end of
31 July,
July, so.
at the earliest.
So my thing would be to just take it right out of there.
Well, okay, we could do that. We can say, all right, so So our strategy then is, if we get it, great, we'll proceed up to Chestnut Street, Plain Road, that area.
Right.
And if not, we'll stop it at Brockway. That's the logical, like we were talking about.
You mean on this here?
Yeah, and just delete
I'm
this.
saying not even put it forward.
That's what we're saying.
Oh, okay. You're saying if we get it from the state, we'll go forward with it?
If we go forward, definitely, we'll
So we're just going to delete this article? then?
delete this article as a request at town meeting.
The next article on page 6, sum of money for an assessment as a member community of the Franklin Regional Transit Authority. So I'm waiting to get an assessment figure from the FRTA. And, we've been talking about this for a while, and this is, the purpose of this is mainly to service the medical buildings out on Route 5. They're all clamoring for public transit. They need it. As a matter of fact, Bob Raymond, the guy who owns the Danko building, came in to see me last week, and I said, we're working it, but, write a letter to the Board of Selectmen to, let your feelings be known. So here's copies of the letter.
Didn't we have at one time, didn't they offer to help us out, pay for some of this stuff?
That's correct. That's correct. And, that conversation hasn't gone any further, but, yeah, it was Mr. Raymond himself who said, I think we're as much information as I've been able to get out of the FRTA, they're saying, well, Whately's assessment is about $3,000. South Deerfield's is like $9,000. And it's mostly based on population. Hatfield's population is in the middle, so we're talking, $5,000, $6,000. That's what the assessment would be.
What's the route gonna be, just Route 5?
Just Route 5.
They come
At
right
at
by
least,
here
at least for
anyway.
now.
I got another question. Do they have, they must, to pick up the elderly? I mean, a van that they could pick up elderly with? Would it be worth looking into where we'd be saving some money on 2 vans that we seem to
We looked at
go
that
through?
extensively, Jan, extensively. And what happened is they could not guarantee picking up elderly at a certain time. They would send the van over and pick everybody up at the same time and then drop them off at their doctor's offices. If you've got an appointment, we bring you to your appointment, where they won't. They'll pick you up and they have a series of appointments. They won't pick up, they can't guarantee. And then, just like shopping, they'll take you shopping, but until that van comes around, sometimes your groceries are sitting out there for an hour or 2 waiting for the bus. So there was, Jane's got all the information downstairs, and that was...
I know we've talked about it, but, I
there was
guess I'd like to see
extensive research done on that.
some nice firm figures on, even if it's a private company that does something like that. Has anybody really looked into a private bus companies like the school department has for the school buses? Do they do anything like that?
No, we've always gone with what we've had with the elderly, and it worked.
No?
So, but
I'm just looking at saving some money somewhere, like I say, we replace those vans.
Well, yeah, in most towns, the local regional transit authority is providing those types of services. I know, in my town, it's the Berkshire Regional Transit Authority. We lease the van from the BRTA, so they do it's their van, so and I'm sure this is the same with all the other RTAs. They do the maintenance on it, etc. But yeah, most other towns use the local regional transit authority to provide those services.
And also,
Okay.
at that time, the costs were a lot more than what we were paying. Even buying a new van, the costs were more.
Okay.
Well, we have this whole It's not just the medical building, but for example, Danco has I think, an adult daycare activity in that facility as well. So even though it's just going down north and south, if it gets to Northampton, folks can get off and then get on the Pioneer Valley.
That's right. Yeah, the FRTA goes into Northampton. That route is 5 times a day. You know, they're back and forth.
So you get the Northampton folks coming up there, and then they could jump on this FRTA back to
Yeah,
Northampton.
most of the people who are coming to these facilities out here are actually from the PVTA. You know, when they first came forward, you know, I said to them, well, okay, why don't you do a survey with your clients? You know, where are they coming from? We need to know, you know, where they're coming from. Yeah, most of them are coming from, you know, Northampton, Belchertown, Holyoke, the surrounding towns. So there would have to be a coordination between the FRTA and the PVTA, and with the medical buildings themselves, you know, to let everybody know, you know, that you can catch, you know, the FRTA bus at such and such a time, you know, in Northampton. So there's going to have to be a lot of coordination for this to work, but first we need a stop.
I think they both go right to the Big Wine.
Yeah, PVTA is looking to change their routes. There was just an article, you know, in the past week or so. So I think that they're looking to come up as far as the River Valley Market now. So, you know, there might be an opportunity here to have some discussions with the PVTA that they would come up, you know, further north.
Okay.
Next article is the Hazardous Materials and Waste Recovery Bylaw. This is, you know, being put forward by the Emergency Management Director, recommended by MEMA to have something like this in place. So if there's a hazardous materials spill, then the operator is required to clean it up.
Just,
To pay for the cleanup, I
Paul,
should
there's
say.
one thing that I didn't see in here, under the marijuana bylaw, that should all be, is that going to be a separate sheet? Or usually it's spelled out, just like this hazardous waste one is, under Article 25, it
Yeah.
reads. And it doesn't do that, it's only one,
Right.
Just have a placeholder, I think.
It's a placeholder.
okay, so
It's-
you're going to move everything over? And
Well, that depends, you know, we can, with lengthy bylaw changes, you know, as on, you know, we insert the wording as on file with the town clerk, but then we have it as a separate,
Okay.
sheet. I mean, we can insert it, you know, whatever you guys want to do, it doesn't make any difference to me. The next few articles are all community preservation. And then, yeah, Article 34, 35 are just boilerplate.
33
it.
is exactly the same as it is last year? That
Yep.
works, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't check the figures, but as long as all the figures are the same.
And then attached are the articles from the planning board. An amendment to the solar energy zoning bylaw, and then the marijuana bylaw, which are all rather lengthy.
Yep, okay. That's it.
And that's that.
That's great. We're about done on that one. Energy grant submission.
Yes, the due date on that was changed. First, it was going to be the end of March, but now it's been changed to April 18th, which is good. Gives me a little more time to put something together, but I've been in contact with our consultant. So we'll be submitting a grant application. I think we're looking at about a dozen different projects. The main one is the heat exchange system at the sewer plant. That's priority number one. And that's, like, you know, that's estimated to be, you know, about $100,000. So we're looking at about $200,000 worth of projects to submit.
Okay, I'll mention it again. There's this, I sent it to you into DPW, grant opportunity for water and wastewater facilities. Special carve-out. I would highly recommend that, and there's 1.5 million available under this program, that we put that heat exchange at the sewer plant in both.
It would fit right in.
I mean, you got, somebody's doing all the work and writing it up.
I don't have a problem
Just,
with that. It was
stick it in-
supposed to go in last time, but things got
Stick-
screwed up there, I guess.
Well, we got the money for it in the initial grant, but there were engineering issues. And so it never, so, you know, it was not, deemed not feasible as planned. But, you know, I've had Guardian Energy look at it, and I've talked to several people, you know, about this. And he said, well, there's a bunch of different ways to go about this. But Guardian Energy's looked at it, and you know, they've got their own engineering solutions, so there's no problem with it.
It doesn't fit on the roof. You build a cradle for it off the side of the building and
Well,
let
it doesn't
go
have
up
to
the
be
side.
on the roof.
It can be off to the side.
Yeah,
I don't know if,
Yeah.
I don't know what the distance is, but
it could be in the wall.
could be in the wall. All right, there you go. That'd be okay too. So, move forward on that.
And so that's just an update on that.
Okay.
Okay, I have, okay, any other? Question for DPW? I sent that to you a while ago. I was at that Pioneer Valley Planning Commission meeting, and Jane Armington was briefing a variety of projects going on over the area, among them in Hatfield. And one of them she was talking about working on was the interconnection of Hatfield's water system with Northampton. Something,
Northampton and Pioneer Valley Planning Commission contacted me already, asking if we would be interested in maybe pursuing this interconnection and having it engineered, drawn up, and that way Northampton would know what we could supply them or what they could supply us in an emergency. They were gonna go forward with it and give us a cost analysis, so what it would cost to have it all drawn up and designed correctly. And that's as far as it's got so far.
There's nothing, I think your concern is Northampton water users tapping into Hatfield.
suck us dry in no
Right,
time.
and that's not it. It's just for emergency
Only
situation.
for emergencies.
We've used that before.
Correct. Right now,
In
it's,
Whately and Northampton, well, when the water main went on Route 5, I
yes,
mean, there was nothing in this town for pressure.
correct.
And they tied in, which helped bring the pressure up a little bit, but
Like, currently, if we had a problem on Linseed Road, we'd be in a critical fail, we would absolutely need that interconnection. And being able to know how long they could possibly sustain us,
now,
because in the past, it used to be a problem with Laurel Park.
Yeah.
It would literally starve them. And since they've updated that water main, so they want to engineer it and make sure everything would work in both directions.
now with,
DEP is the one that's really pushing this. Not, they want to make sure, I mean, we've already done a feasibility study between myself and Roger Sadowski in Deerfield, that we could actually produce water and supply them if they needed it. So, which would mean going through Whately and,
Yeah,
you know, would be supplying Whately and Deerfield, but yes, it could be done. So this is just something they wanted to finish, because I guess East Hampton, Williamsburg are already on board, and everybody's just waiting to see how much it's gonna cost each person, or each town, I should say.
now what exactly are you going to do? I mean, now what's, I guess, we have a 10-inch water main at town line.
No, we actually have a 12-inch water main on the
On
east
that
side of
section.
Route 5. There is equipment in the ground to, when we can afford it, go across Route 5 so we can interconnect to Northampton very easily. Right now, it needs to be done through fire hoses
Right.
in the drainage underneath Route
Right.
5. but knowing whether we're gonna need pressure reducing equipment, because Northampton is generally a lot higher water pressure than us. We go much above 60, we're gonna be popping water mains all over the place. We don't wanna do that. It's just knowing what we can do.
Yeah.
It's kinda like fire department pre-planning that on this street, we got 1,000 gallons a minute, on that street, we only got 500.
Tony, can we start like on Route 5 like that, start putting sleeves in? I know it's a little bit more money, but if we put a sleeve in, that way they never have to dig it up and the cost would be a lot less if we can pull it right through. That's the same as the line, the 16-inch going across Route 9. Are they burrowing under Route 5 or are they digging it up?
That was just gonna be an open trench cut.
So can we possibly, I don't know if we can put a sleeve in there if it makes sense. To me, it makes sense for future, just in case something happens, you could pull it out, you wouldn't have to dig it up and it'd be a lot less costly in the future.
Yeah,
Just
but how
It's possible, but the expense on it
much
would
pipe are
be,
you gonna waste?
because
pulling
not
it
only
in
are
and
you
out?
going much lower into the ground, because, you know, a 36-inch casing to put a 12-inch pipe in there
Is that what
is,
you have to put?
that's generally what they recommend.
So you
That's
can't
what-
put a 2-foot to put a 12-inch in, huh?
No. It's up to Mass Highway what they wanna let you do, and everything's flowable fill, no matter what you're doing, so Route 5's not a real long distance, I mean, they just tied in themselves.
Okay, so,
So basically, back to your question, it's almost like a mutual aid for water, that's what it's.
Yeah.
Basically what it comes down to, we just know there's gonna be some expense,
okay, and we have no financial commitment at the moment?
no.
And is the end result to be Pioneer Valley's going to try and spearhead some grant request to help us all make this happen?
That's why they initiated this project, was
Okay.
because of some grant that was conceived. Like I said, the DEP has been aggressively after towns to make sure that they can have emergency interconnections, have it written down, have it in our emergency response plan. I mean, I have it spelled out how to do it roughly,
Yeah.
but you don't know what the end result could possibly be right now.
Okay, good. I'm sorry, you had something.
Yeah, I just under new business, I want to bring up the fact, I got a call from an individual about the police department's cruiser they saw going to Northampton, and they suggested that, they make the suggestion that they're getting coffee, and the cruiser was out of town, and I just wanted to assure the public that the cruiser, if it's out of town, it's either, in this particular incident, they had an arrest, they were headed to the barracks in Northampton, and so the cruiser is on official business when it's out of town. They're not going there for just coffee or whatever the case may be. And I just want to assure townspeople that we are on top of it and that we know what's going on and so on. And same as the highway department, we have a contract with them. They are authorized to go out of town after plowing at night. They can go up to South Deerfield to have a breakfast or whatever. It's in the contract, so if somebody sees the town truck going out of town late at night or whatever at the diner, that's the reason it's there for. And if they have any problems, they can contact Phil Genovese, the highway superintendent, or highway DPW director, and he'll answer any questions for you. But I just wanted to make that clear that we are on top of it and that they're not frivolously going out of town and that they shouldn't be done.
Yeah, I'd just like to comment, if you're a police officer, you're going to spend a lot of time in the courtroom, and the courthouse is in Northampton.
Right.
So,
Exactly. Okay, so, and then the other question, the other I have here in the package, I guess, on the project on 3133 Elm Street, I guess the abutters had their pins taken out, and of their property pins, and they want them put back in. That's something the building inspector needs to address because it's against the law to pull any surveyor's pins out.
I think you've already referred that to building inspector.
yeah, but I talked to him about it, and he's on it. It's not really a town issue, it's between
I
the...
guess what he
yeah.
went back and told the people, from what I had heard, that it was no big deal, they'll fix it later, but the people, the abutters are concerned that they're gonna go over onto their property and they don't want them on their property. So the pins were put in by the surveyor and they should be back in there before any construction's done, so they know exactly where the property lines are. So that to me, I mean, then there's a whole civil suit that you can get into because they pulled the pins out, which they weren't supposed to. So I don't know if you want to get back to Stanley and make sure that he's clear with the builder, that he has to put the pins back.
I don't know what, no.
Yeah, it's really,
Let's be clear about Stanley doing Stanley's job.
Yeah,
within
this
the
is-
Well, the
scope-
thing is, we
within
used
the
to,
scope of his authority.
we used to have
Really a town issue. It's
a
between-
fence viewer.
it's
Well,
That
between
was
the-
basically
the
his-
property
his
owner.
job, wasn't it?
We do.
His job is to
Scott,
know where the property
Well, then
lines
he would be
are.
the one that you want to contact. A fence viewer. Wasn't that the purpose for a fence viewer, was to go out?
well, that
and-
was for your
No,
his
that's on
cattle
the
getting out.
construction part of it.
Well, I thought it was to dispute any kind of property bounds like this, too.
They had it surveyed, so that the pins, the temporary pins were in there. And then when the contractor came in, he pulled them out.
Right, but I'm saying, wouldn't the fence viewer be kind of responsible to go out there and say,
No, it's the building inspectors, because he has to know exactly where the building is going, and it's gotta be so many feet off the property line. That's why he gets involved with the points, the pins.
Okay, well, follow up with Stanley, make sure we're doing,
Yeah.
exercising our responsibilities in the matter.
Yeah. Can we revisit the sidewalk article again, just briefly?
Yeah.
Is the board ready to make a decision on this, that it's not gonna come out of taxation?
I'd like to move that not be taken out of taxation.
I thought we just decided it was going to, we just leave it as an issue.
Yeah, well, if we.
Well,
can-
all right, we're
If you
100,000.
need a decision.
If you need something, we can,
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like, you know, the finance committee isn't gonna support it. And it sounds like you wanna leave it on there and maybe fund it, but I don't think taxation is a viable funding source
Well,
at this
if we
stage of
use
the
Chapter
game.
90, we don't need to have it on there at all, because
That's
as
correct.
long as Phil has
Right.
a list, I don't have a problem if you just deleted it. That's my take on it.
all right. Do you want, we'll delete it for this year. I mean, it's not the
Whatever.
highest priority.
I'm just saying that, I mean, I've heard people complain, well, it's always, our roads are in tough shape and we're worried about sidewalks.
Yeah.
To me, the quickest fix would be,
There you
do
go.
like other cities and towns are starting to do. They're putting a line down on the edge of the road, and that's the end of it. Number one, you're not only saving money on replacing sidewalks, but you're also saving money on plowing the sidewalks come wintertime.
You're not going to let the kids walk on the road, that's for sure. You can help it.
All right, well, all right, there's a motion to remove that article from the warrant as drafted using
Taxation.
taxation as a source of funds. Is there a second?
Second.
Second?
Whatever.
All in
Okay.
favor, aye.
Great, thank you.
Out.
That gets us, that gets the deficit under $100,000.
All right, and you're going to work on schedules.
Yep.
All right, is there a motion to enter into executive session to discuss strategy with respect to...
Hold on a second. Tony, are you here for the meeting, or are you here to discuss an executive session?
Executive session,
Okay, under what?
personnel issues.
Okay, so we're in the executive session twice, one under personnel and one under litigation. So you're going to have to read both of them off so we can take them both at the same time.
I'm not sure we're...
I'd have to read them.
No, there's
There
no...
is something on the personnel issues. Paul, do you know which one is under personnel? On the
Yeah,
executive session?
number one has to do with personnel, but has nothing to do with, has to do with reputation, character, physical condition, mental health, professional competence, dismissal,
That's the one.
mental, no.
Do it under one.
It doesn't fit the issue. I'm well aware of the
Well,
issue.
I don't know what the issue is, but
It doesn't fit. It's not reputation, character, physical condition.
personnel issue and its character, that's enough. I would say that's where it goes under.
It doesn't fit as an executive session item.
Well, if it doesn't fit, we'll deal with it afterwards, but we've got to get them into the executive session, or there's some item here that deals with personnel.
Is there a motion to enter into executive session to discuss strategy with respect to potential litigation regarding a contract if in an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares?
Oh, so moved.
Second.
Lesko, aye.
Adamski, aye.
Boyle, aye.
And then go into the second part? Let me see that for a second.
That's it.
I don't know what the issue is, but if it's something to do with reputation, character.
No, it's not.
It could be a strategy in preparation for negotiations or non-union personnel to conduct.
No.
No? Is there a possible litigation, in fact? Yeah, anything can lead to litigation, so it can go underneath that.
No.
No, it's no litigation. Just a personnel supervisory issue, that's not,
Well,
doesn't fit.
then we can discuss Tony's reputation or character or whatever. So I move we go into executive session under number 1. Discuss the reputation and character, physical condition, mental health, rather than professional competence of an individual, and discuss the discipline or dismissal of complaints or charges against an officer, employee, staff member, or individual. That's the only one that fits here.
It doesn't fit, that's the problem.
Yeah, but you know it, I don't know it, Jeff. I want to get in there to find out what it is.
I have to
In order
declare
for
that
us-
it fits.
Otherwise, it's going to be sitting here, and you're not going to involve an individual on town floor here if there's a problem out there
Right.
with personnel. So I would fit that in that, and then figure out what we need to do once we start it, and we have to go back in, come back out, and go back underneath another one. I don't have a problem with that. Okay. Well, that's the only one that I can see right now without,
That's
you
the
know,
problem.
I can't, well, it's a problem that you know, but I don't know what's going on. So in order for me to know, and I don't know if Jan knows, if that's the case, how do you guys know? I mean, you know.
Because I know it's a supervisor issue. And I'd have to declare that it fits, and it doesn't.
Well, how do you deal with it? If he's got a problem with somebody, how do you deal with it, Paul?
We'll
You
let-
tell me, because
we'll
he's,
let the-
Let's talk about this later.
Yeah.
Let's get the other issue underway
we need
here.
to deal with it
You know,
today, and we
Mark's
get-
been hanging around here for an hour now, so.
we have to deal with it today
We can deal,
our
let's deal
meeting.
with it after we deal with this other issue.
under what?
The Board of Selectmen's representative is Jan to DPW, and he can handle that with Phil.
Okay, I mean, if the guy comes in and he wants to meet with us, then,
Well-
I don't know, if you guys are denying it, that's wrong, but it's okay.
Is there a motion to adjourn, and the Board of Selectmen will not?
What if
Reconvene.
what if we just take a part of this? One is to discuss the reputation of the staff member. Would that cover it? He
Staff
is kind of a staff member.
He's a staff member. If he's got a problem, it could be his characteristic, it could be just Tony. So, could come underneath just that, on the character. It doesn't have to be every one of those, it can be just one of those.
I mean, if he wants to meet with us, I have no issue with meeting with him. I mean, to me, it's not a big deal. I think it can be handled fairly easily, so. But, I mean, if he just wants to come in and speak with us, I
Give
wouldn't
him
have a
his,
problem
give him his
with.
say, for crying out loud, you know?
Well, I honestly don't see how it fits, but all right, if you two want to go with it, you can go with it. And,
I'll move that we go under
so,
executive session number 1.
So there's a motion by Mr. Lesko Under reason 1, we're going into executive session to discuss reputation, character, or physical condition, or mental health, rather than professional competence, or to discuss the discipline or dismissal or complaints or charges against a public officer or staff meeting or individual. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Lesko, aye.
Adamski, aye.
All opposed? Boyle, opposed. Okay, we're going to executive session. We will not be returning to open session. Thank you very much.